The following episode contains or may contain spoilers. So if you're spoiler sensitive, maybe beware.
Yeah, you sensitive people.
Get out.
Oh, get in.
But yes, I have one lizard leg, and then the other one is the leg that grew back. So
Oh my god.
Wait, why did you have the lizard leg to begin with?
that's
Just one
people
limb.
wonder.
Welcome to the Fantom Zone. 3 fans, 1 podcast, and a sea of comics.
Nice.
I
Did you want us
forgot-
to jump in there? Or?
I know.
I forgot what I was doing. I'm Noah.
Kayla?
And this is Jared.
That is Jared. He will never be anything different.
Just this.
Yeah. All right. So we're going to start this episode off with a little news flash.
Newsflash.
And that,
Sorry. Does that not help? Okay.
no, maybe not.
Okay.
So I'm just gonna kind of say some things that happened this past week in the comic verse, and they don't know what I'm gonna say.
Yeah.
It could be something really boring, or
Yeah.
it could be something not boring.
We're getting some current events here.
Yes, current events. So Doomsday Clock number 9, which has experienced a series of delays, is now gonna come out March 6th. So it's still delayed. Batman Damned number 3 will also be delayed, and that will not come out until May,
Whoa.
3 months from now.
Why?
I don't why
Someone
I
do
don't-
something.
no idea why. I don't know why these Doomsday Clock is so hard to follow.
Yeah.
Because they come out sporadically, and I keep forgetting that is a series that is currently happening.
This is dumb, but who's writing Doomsday Clock? I don't even know.
Jeff Johns.
Okay, well, somebody say something.
Yeah, I know. The person that you wouldn't think that they would delay their comic.
Well, I was
Has
going to
anybody-
say, if you're going to give anyone permission to do that, Jeff
Yeah.
Johns is the obvious choice.
But has anybody been to his house and checked on him? Is there?
That's a good point.
Is he okay?
Did anybody hear like a thud?
It's
and
really
then
like
2
Kevin
weeks later-
Smith writing everything,
Yeah.
but it's just taking him longer.
It's like a Weekend at Bernie's situation.
All right,
writing.
second thing. Scott Adkins is not the new Batman.
Ah,
The leaked audition was for prior films. He's not Batman.
Oh, but he's kind of cute.
I mean, he definitely seems like he could be a good Batman.
Yeah.
I hate people so much because people are like, oh, he looks like it. Yeah, you know, acting isn't just about like they look like it. You remember Wizard
I
Magazine?
mean, that's a huge part of
Do you
it.
remember? Look, Wizard Magazine, and it's never changed. Used to do this thing where they would be like casting call, and then rather than just people that had acting chops, it would just be anybody that had ever looked like that character.
To be
It
fair,
just kills me.
we've had so many different people play Batman that it's allowed for us to get excited about the possibility of a person looking like him.
That
Why?
actually,
Why?
there has not been a single Batman casted that has blue eyes.
It's just
Well,
just
Ben
saying.
Affleck
Just-
was the closest
just-
to kind of like what Bruce Wayne looked like, and then they're like, nah.
I'm just saying, think about it. What's harder, getting a guy who looks like Batman to learn to act, or a guy who can act to be
Our
dressed up like a
standards
bat?
are high. We want both.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with that.
Ben
Also, with that
Atkins.
being said, hashtag Edward for bats.
Oh, damn.
Edward.
Robert Pattinson.
Oh. No.
Oh, I want the other guy. I want the werewolf to be Batman.
Oh, why?
What was his name?
Uh,
Isn't he fat now?
Jacob.
Lautner?
Yeah, Taylor Lautner.
Yeah,
I
let's
said
let's
Jacob.
have-
That was his character's name.
Let's have him like a Monchichi with abs.
What- I mean,
be Batman.
there was a picture I did see. Hear me out. With Robert Pattinson.
No.
I mean,
No.
I don't want him
What's
to be.
the next story?
What's the girl's name? Maybe she could be Batman.
So, Marvel's upcoming Loki series for the Disney streaming service has found a showrunner in Rick and Morty's season 4 writer Michael Waldron.
That's cool.
Yeah, so the writer for, or the showrunner for Rick and Morty is going to be showrunner for
Also,
Loki.
at least we know it's going to be witty, I guess.
Yes,
You know?
yes, and far out there.
Yeah.
I'm sure Rick is just like a version of Loki anyway.
Yeah. I actually
No.
don't watch Rick and Morty. It's probably... I know. The art is gross.
And it's gross, but it's
is
really
I
good.
can't watch it.
It's really,
It's really well written.
it's fun.
I don't
You gotta- you
care.
need to suck it up.
It's
You would love
painful
it.
to look at.
You would love it. You would love it.
My eyes hurt every
like
time
your-
I watch their weird not circle pupils.
It's like your thing. I think you'd be into this. Did you like Ren and Stimpy?
No.
I could see
It's
that.
gross.
Yeah, it's real gross.
All right, last thing. Jason Momoa has been casted in the Dune movie. So that's happening.
He's playing a giant worm.
What? No.
He can play whoever he wants.
Yeah, I mean, he did post those Instagram videos that everybody was trying to like, oh, what is he talking about? Because he was at Warner Brothers, and then he was at Legendary, and then he's like, you guys have no idea what's coming. So everybody thought it had to do with DC. But no, it's the Dune movie.
I don't care about Dune.
I mean, I am. I think it's going to be good.
I'm not a hater. It's just like when it's like you guys have no idea how excited you're gonna be.
I mean, this has
Yeah.
a huge following, though.
Yeah.
So.
No, it's good. Cool.
All right, that is everything in the news. All right, and Kayla is going to read a little review for us that we got.
I love checking the reviews. This one is relatively recent. It says, "This is a great podcast for new and seasoned comic book fans. The crew does a great job of keeping it fun, lighthearted, and approachable, and also offers up really sharp insights about everything from the industry to the characters. Great podcast." Which
Yay.
I think that just summarizes everything we wanted to be. So
Yeah,
I thought that was
exactly.
neat.
That's our bio now.
Yeah. I don't know. Is that plagiarism or something?
Hell yeah.
I think they'd be okay with it. They like us, so it's fine. Hey, thanks. Yeah, I mean, just a reminder, y'all can always go leave us a little review. It lets us know that we're doing a good job, I guess. Yeah.
I love reading them.
Yeah, I do too.
Please review us on iTunes. Do that.
Or
Go to
anywhere
iTunes
else.
and review us. No, but when we do it for iTunes, a man comes to our door and gives us a whole bunch of apples, a basket of apples, and a kiss on the cheek. So, thank you.
How do you come up with this shit so quickly?
I don't know. That's because it's the truth, and I just think about what the truth is.
All right, so we're going to get into it. This is our second deep dive, and we're deep diving Captain Marvel.
Yay.
No water puns today.
No.
Yes.
Depressing.
Thank
I
goodness.
know. I tried real hard to come up with puns
to
for
think
this
of
one.
something.
I couldn't.
It's really weird that you didn't do because you're just marvelous at that.
Oh
doing
my
those
God.
puns, so.
No.
I found.
No.
I marvel at it. Honestly, at his ability. If he had a
All right,
rank, I
I'm
would
the
say
captain of the ship. We're going to start steering this in the direction.
I'm
Excellent.
just so sad.
Yes.
But yes, Captain Marvel, that is the character we are spotlighting. So I'm just going to kind of jump right into it. Carol Danvers, Miss Marvel, Ace, Binary, Lady Marvel, Warbird, or Captain Marvel, as you know her now. That is all her names.
There's many names.
Yeah.
Been many names, many reincarnations, incarnations, everything that you could think of. By the time Carol became Captain Marvel, there had been 6 other people that had that mantle. And we will get into those later. I will not step on anybody's toes here. But the Captain Marvel that is going to be modeled in the movie coming up is from Kelly Sue DeConnick. So that came out in 2012.
Yeah, DeConnick. That sounds
DeConnick,
right.
yeah. And then by 2014, there was a movie script put on the desks. So you
It
could
took them forever.
yeah, took them forever to get there, but they're getting there.
Yes.
Good job.
Yeah, I can't speak for the two of you, but I feel like our broad opinion is that this is an underutilized character.
Yes.
Up until recently, they really did let this character kind of just stay in the B character wings,
Yeah.
so to speak.
Which is always funny with this character, and I'm sure you guys will talk about it when you get to your parts, but when she comes around, she's always important to the story, and then she kind of just disappears.
Yeah,
Yep.
that happens a lot, I think.
And I think, but yeah, with her, and it's weird. I don't like just keep the character.
You know what I think? You know what I think? I don't know why I'm saying it this way, but
And your hands on your hips.
yeah, I literally did that. I think there's a certain thing about this character where it's always felt like it was supposed to be a big deal. And the reason I say that is that you have these characters that, it's like Scarlet Witch, Lover, clearly meant for an ensemble cast, clearly meant to be in a team. But this character sort of screamed like, oh, this is supposed to be a big kind of, forefront kind of character. And they kind of dropped the ball for decades. So we'll get into it. But yeah.
Literally.
Yeah.
I mean, she's been reinterpreted so many times in different ways, came back as this, was this, somebody else was that. I mean, it's all over the place, but I think with this 2012 one by DeConnick, it really hit the strides. The character stuck, and Now that's why we have a movie. They might have been waiting for this. They might have been like, let's get the character actually down before we come out with the movie.
That's probably true.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I'll go over her powers a little bit. She has a straightforward superhero power set.
Hell yeah.
She's super strong, durable. She can fly, hang out in the vacuum of space like most ones that are super strong and can fly do.
Mm-hmm.
She has Superman stuff, essentially. I mean, she's just super strong, flies around.
No speed.
No speed. That is something that is interesting with this character, that she doesn't have like the super speed.
She flies fast.
Yeah.
She does fly fast. And then she can absorb any kind of energy and release it, in concentrated blast, usually from her hands. And then one of the cool powers that they don't utilize a lot, but they're starting to more utilize them, is her binary powers. So essentially, it's the power of a white hole. Right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's what
where
that
she's,
is.
yeah, she's gotten her powers from.
Exactly. And it sort of ends up being just like an ultra version of her own powers. So if you have her power set in mind, it's just she gets super powerful.
Exponentially modified.
More powerful
They
blasts.
couldn't just call it like
stuff.
Super Saiyan Carol Danvers.
She ends
Yeah,
up
basically.
she ends up kind of looking that way.
Yeah, I mean, she does. That's
Flame-headed.
And that's why I always thought it was funny that, like, reading what that power is, it's like the power of a white hole. It's like, what?
I think it's cool.
I mean, it is, but also, like, what is that? I don't.
Well, you have to read the issue.
Because
to find
comics,
out.
I mean, come on.
I guess. Yep, that's how they get their powers from. This time, a white hole. But yeah, Captain Marvel has been rebooted, retooled, regardless if people wanted it or not. There's been so many weird interpretations of this character and great things that have come from this character, which we will get to. But Kayla's going to give us kind of the rundown of the editorial history.
Yes. So her first appearance wasn't as Ms. Marvel or Captain Marvel. It was in 1968. It was in Marvel's run. Confusing, right? But she was like a close personal friend of him for about a decade. And it was in 1977 that she actually became Ms. Marvel. Explosion. Powers happened. Since then.
As they usually do.
Yeah, exactly. She kind of became that human Kree hybrid.
How do you feel about that?
About what?
Like the whole human Kree hybrid thing.
I'm fantastically against it.
I think it's kind of interesting because it adds a psychological element to her approach to the Kree.
That's true.
Boo.
Yeah.
Jared says boo. We'll get more into it.
Yeah.
She didn't really have her own solo run. Well, she kept, like you had said, popped in and out. X-Men comics, Avengers comics, Defenders. At the time was very feminist, at least like the current wave of feminism at the time. Because even just the abbreviation, the MS, was a big deal in feminism at the time. She's unmarried? What?
No, yeah, because she was unmarried.
Miss. Yeah.
No, not Miss. Ms.
Yep.
And I think that was on the heels of Wonder Woman, wasn't it? Like the TV show.
Yeah, probably the TV show that would make sense.
Because I think
Around
like
there.
the TV show had either like the first season or something. It was around that time, and that was like a really big thing for female characters, especially superheroes, to be front and center.
Yeah.
So-
Well, and it wasn't even just her like superhero persona. In her like day-to-day life, she was fighting for like equal pay for equal.
Yeah. It's second wave feminism and like personified.
Yeah.
It's this idea of like women can be what men are, like women can be doctors and lawyers and stuff like that.
Which
and a
they
movement.
Yeah.
I'm on the fence, but of course I'm joking. But yeah, I think it's overtly that. Sorry.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think it's a big deal at the time. For sure. It's kind of easy to look back now and kind of brush off the strides that came from having a female superhero front and center.
Because who knows? I mean, that might have changed the minds of somebody, or at least inspired somebody to be more of an advocate.
Yeah, and I think it takes
a
a certain amount of boldness on Marvel's side, so give them credit for doing that. Even though they took forever to give her a freaking movie.
or any female character. Really.
Yeah.
Yep.
Anyway, 80s is kind of a step backwards for her character. I know Jared's going to get into this a little bit, but I mean, some really awful things happened to her and she disappeared. Kind of doing a complete 180 in progress.
Very much so.
Can you tell from my tone how happy I am about that?
That was the 80s, really.
my
That was just
God.
Reaganism generally. It was just, just walking back progress. For a period of time.
In the 90s, kind of had a name change, as she do. But rejoined the Avengers. 2000s, she was used a lot and kind of became the premier Marvel like female superhero.
I agree. Yeah, because you always see like images of her, like big splash pages and stuff. And I mean, as a character, she's striking.
I mean, yeah,
looks cool.
I
as
like the
shit.
look, especially that one with the lightning bolt black. I love that look.
Oh, that's such. I love that costume so much.
Yep.
And yeah, now is kind of gaining traction. So I really like her.
I mean, I'm happy that like where she is now. Like it seems like this character has such a huge history, and they're just now fleshing out the character.
Yeah, you would think because from conception she was a big deal, and then they didn't really utilize her correctly. And like you had said, I guess they're getting better at it now, but it is kind of frustrating because there was so much potential just from the start that they didn't really do anything.
And I think that's what DeConnick saw. In that character, like why are we doing this? Like, give it to me. Let me fix this.
I would argue that the beginning of her character is the well-written, agenda-driven, and it was a very successful take and creation. And then 2012, when her character really took off, and we'll get more into detail, is also agenda-driven. And again, her character took off. I think it proves you shouldn't be afraid to like
talk about the issues.
Exactly, have political values as long as they're well thought out and well executed and stuff like that. That very much like made her a thing. You know,
I agree. Right. That's you, Jared.
My turn. Okay. I'm going to do a little bit of the character's origin and some of the big moments in her history. You asked earlier, how do I feel about them rewriting her history where her mom was always Kree? I'm actually kind of ambivalent about it. I don't care if that's the case. But what bothers me is that she has one of the most original origins in comics.
Yeah,
and I don't want that to go anywhere. So here's the little story. As Kayla sort of mentioned, Captain Marvel, the original Captain Marvel, Captain Marvel, so it's like real name.
You have
Kree,
to,
Marvel.
It's
like
make the
John
distinction.
Jones. Yeah, exactly.
Like Jor-El.
Yeah, exactly. So Carol starts out as an Air Force pilot, works her way up, and she's a character as a woman who dominates male roles. She's sort of a badass. Nobody tells me what a woman can do. Fuck you. That's a quote. Anyway, okay.
I know what Pam you're talking about.
So she works her way up, retires, but then gets a job doing security for NASA. Right. And they're monitoring space stuff that's going out there.
Space waves.
Yeah, exactly.
Usually
and
waves.
It turns out that the Kree have infiltrated, the Kree we'll talk about a little bit later, but suffice to say they're an alien, powerful race. They've infiltrated the Earth and the United States, because that's how it works. So everything happens in the United States.
Why not another country?
So and Captain Marvel, the great superhero, Kree superhero, is in disguise, and they become friends and sort of romantic flirtationists. I don't know how to say it. You know what I mean? Like they have a kind of burgeoning relationship. Anyway, point is that when this villain from the Kree Empire, Jan Rog, great name, figures out that Carol is his love interest to defeat Captain Marvel, he takes her prisoner. And he also unlocks a very powerful, well-named artifact called the Psyche Megatron. I think it's I actually have.
I don't think it's the Megatron.
Yeah, the Psyche Magnetron. And what's really cool about it is that it gives, it basically gives the user their thoughts can become reality. It's a very powerful kind of weapony kind of thing.
So the mind gem.
What's that?
The Mind Stone, the reality gem. All of those gems put together.
Like, actually, comic fans will appreciate this way. It's like the cosmic cube. Because it's sort of marketed as like it makes wishes come true. But it was, the Kree were afraid of it because it was like moved towards evil, so they bury it in Peru. Like they bury it and nobody can know about it.
So you would ask for like a puppy and to give you like a hellhound?
Yeah. That's actually a great way to look at it.
It's like a genie, like the classic genie.
You'd be like, I want world peace, and then the world would explode, and it's like very peaceful.
No one's fighting.
It's in pieces.
Yeah, exactly. Just minutes. Okay, that's a good point. Anyway, so Marvel foils Jan Rog's plot, but the machine explodes. But before it does, it's going to kill everybody. And Marvel shields Carol. He shields her, hoping that he will save her. And in her almost dying wish, she doesn't die, but like she wishes to be his equal and to have his powers, to be able to fight instead of being a helpless victim. And so she becomes Miss Marvel. She has his powers and his genetic code and everything like that.
I like that.
Yeah.
But also, why would that be the thing you're thinking about when you're about to die?
Because the issue...
I wish I was, you know what I mean?
Well, I wish I had the power to do something.
That's it.
Okay.
She's and it's, again, this kind of explicitly, though, I mean, maybe now we'd see it as kind of naive, but like explicitly sort of feminist approach, which is, I don't want to be the helpless damsel.
Like he's
I want to be
protecting me.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so her wish isn't, oh, save me, Superman. Her wish is, I want to be Superman.
Yeah.
So I can save him and everything like that.
Yeah.
And there's your Miss Marvel history.
I like.
Yeah. So you notice she's Miss Marvel. She's not Captain Marvel.
Yeah.
She's
I mean,
inspired by it.
I like that much better than like, oh, her mom was a
Yeah.
alien this whole time. It's like,
Yeah, there's a story here.
Yeah.
You know, that, I mean, like, and maybe that's, you know, it's got a little bit of 1960s cheese on it, and you'd have to update it a bit.
stinky cheese.
Stinky cheese, right? But I think it is better than just the easy sort of thing. Anyway, okay. So basically, she has a mini series or an ongoing series for a while. It doesn't really go that well. I mean, it just never takes off. And then she joins the Avengers, becomes an important member of the Avengers, and then the Marcus thing happens.
Yeah.
It is it's such a depressing thing to happen to this character. It's also just weird and poorly written.
Yep.
So it's very convoluted, and I'm not going to get every detail right, but it's worth looking up. So did you want to say something?
No.
Okay, sorry. Sorry. So there's a character, Kang the Conqueror. He's a time traveler. That time traveler has several different incarnations, one of which is Immortus. It's supposed to be his older, kind of wiser, nicer version or whatever. But Immortus is also kind of a villain and very manipulative. So he manipulates Carol into hooking up with him so she can bear his child, who is in fact him as a younger self.
Ugh.
Yeah, it's awful.
Yeah.
But it gets worse, believe it or not, because she confesses to the Avengers that she secretly, because she got pregnant with her husband baby.
Her husband's son.
Yeah, which maybe this is a metaphor for reproduction itself. But anyway, that she secretly wants to make it work, and she lives
because she thinks in a weird way. She's like, I don't remember being in love with you or whatever, but it's my child, right?
It's like it's like the end of Rosemary's Baby.
Yeah.
Where it's like, well, I got to raise the devil's baby.
Yeah,
It's my baby.
It's my baby.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so fucked up.
Yeah.
So she goes away for a while is the point. She goes to live with Marcus Immortus or what have you in Limbo, which is like this alternate timeless dimension or something.
And they
like
let her
that.
go.
Yeah.
The Avengers let her go.
Yeah.
I mean, that's crazy to me.
It's real dumb. But so she does eventually come back. Unfortunately, the news just gets worse and worse for Carol Danvers. She kind of returns to her role as Miss Marvel. And then while she tries to stop a heist of some sort or criminal activity with the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants, Mystique has Rogue absorb her powers.
Yep.
Like as rogues once do, but she holds on too long, puts Miss Marvel in a coma and steals her powers. Now, a lot of you probably know this from the animated series. They do talk about this a little bit.
I thought it's interesting they did that in the first place.
It is. What they don't tell you is that she doesn't really stay in that coma for very long. She's still hanging out and just being, as a matter of fact, she ends up being a pilot for a couple of X-Men teams and stuff like that. So she's still around. She's just powerless and everything like that.
Yeah.
And pissed at Rogue. Like and to this day, they have a kind of like,
I'd be
we're
mad
not
too.
friends.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You took my fucking powers.
We're not friends.
And her personality, and it was just, it's pretty awful, right? So, but she is still has that history as a pilot and an explorer and everything like that. And with her X-Men, goings on adventures, she gets captured by the Brood, which are pretty awful ripoff of the Xenomorph aliens, but in X-Men. Instead of laying eggs, they just bite you and you become one or something like that. Anyway, so then they experiment on her, unleash her powers, and that's when she becomes binary. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
She looked cool as binary.
She did look cool. And it was like trying to make her, she was like Silver Surfer level powerful.
Yeah.
Which it kind of did look like Phoenix. Dark Phoenix.
There's only so many things they could make a person. It's like fiery headed.
And white.
Yeah. But really, nothing really comes from it. I mean, just in the long term or whatever. Eventually, they reboot the Avengers after Heroes Return. She comes back as Miss Marvel. Her binary, and I always say binary in my head because I just thought I was like, oh, she's a fancy lady with a fancy name. Okay, so they say those powers kind of wore off. She's back to Miss Marvel. She's in the Avengers and Kurt Busiek's the sort of wonderful run, and it's from this point on that she just sort of gradually becomes the Captain Marvel that we know and love today. Mm-hmm. Now, the reason I mention this is that you mentioned in 2012, that's when it really takes off for her. The movie comes out. But what I think is that you needed this like 15-year period of her just being a very important Avenger, badass character for them then to kind of give her that in 2012 more feminist turn. Mm-hmm. I think if they had just sort of reintroduced her as like we hadn't seen her in 20 years and she just had a short haircut. She's like, fuck dudes. Yeah. Or whatever. I think,
hey, it might have worked.
It might have worked. But
especially now.
Yeah. But they slowly grow her power and significance. And then now she's a kind of, what do you call it? Like vanguard character of the Marvel Universe.
Yeah.
I think that's so it's a good thing, and also I think a lot of people have issue with that, only because she's kind of newly being reintroduced in a way, like relatively recently, and then they just keep gradually making her like not necessarily stronger, but more important.
Yeah,
that's fine with me, and then the character develops and grows. But I mean, just don't turn her into a Scarlet Witch situation.
Oh, please don't.
Where she becomes so obscenely powerful.
I was actually just thinking about that. I was like on par with Scarlet Witch's like power set, but kind of more grounded, more interesting.
Yeah. I mean, at most, it seems like she's just in the Superman, Thor sort of level. Yeah. And if it stays there and she's just like keeps pace with him, I think that's a really good level for her. The thing I worry about more is that outside of a few people that were inspired by this, I shouldn't say few, she has a pretty stalwart fan base. This is a character that Marvel basically didn't pay much attention to.
Yeah.
Dropped the ball on a lot. And that's fine. I mean, that happens a lot where they don't appreciate the potential of a character. But now I think Marvel is trying to act as if they've always really cared about this character.
It's because it has the name.
Exactly.
We were on this whole path the whole time.
Yeah, and for a minute, before we get more into it, I mean, just to kind of, I guess, curb the confusion some people might have or like curiosity between it. There's two Captain Marvels. So DC had one and Marvel had one.
Yeah.
And DC bought Captain Marvel from Fawcett Comics because it resembled Superman too much.
Yeah.
So they bought it, and then this Captain Marvel happened. So for Marvel to keep the name Captain Marvel, they have to come out with comics of Captain Marvel like every few years or so. So I think might be why her origin is a little
I don't want to lose the
funky.
Trademark.
Exactly.
There's some certainly weird, but it was only, and I forgot to say this too, I'm glad you circled back here. 2012 is when she got rebranded as Captain Marvel. She had been Miss Marvel the entire time.
Yeah.
Which I don't think anybody had any major complaints
But
with.
I think it's like the whole Shazam thing too, because it's like she's always Captain Marvel, but her name is actually this, and Shazam is like, your name is Shazam, but you're also Captain Marvel.
Yeah. Well,
and I think Jeff Johns quite recently was like, he's not Captain Marvel at all anymore. Like, we're just dropping that name completely, and he's Shazam, which makes sense.
But in this, the story goes, Carol was actually sort of like, not in mourning, but she thought taking Captain Marvel's name would be disrespectful to that hero's death.
Yeah.
And it's who but Captain America that convinces her, his name was Marvel. His mantle was Captain Marvel, and he wanted you to have it. So
that's a really good. I know what scene you're talking about. Panel that you're talking about is really good because he's like, you need a name.
Sweet.
Absolutely. So what I kind of worry more about than her becoming too powerful is that she may not have a particularly big fan base, and the problem is that comics don't have a good history of pushing Mary Sue characters into infamy. Those things usually have to grow over not infamy, sorry, like fame. They have to grow over a period of time. It's saying, look, this is the new character we're really trying to push. It can work, but it may not, and I really hope it doesn't backfire.
I think it's working. I think for what they've done so far, it's working. I mean,
sure,
we'll see.
We'll
just have to see.
Fingers crossed.
I have hope
Marvel
for
desperately
this
needs it.
Yes.
And like it's just to underscore, like I'm not trying to be down on this character at all. I just think that she's sort of in this really ascendant moment now, but she's had some really low points. We sort of suggested them before. It wasn't, with the Marcus thing, right?
Yes. Yeah. I mean, that whole thing, I think people may know or may not know, but that story, Avengers 200, was written by Jim Shooter and George Perez and Bob Layton and a couple other people. But the fact that those were big names, they weren't some nobodies. That wasn't like their first comic that they came out with that just made this terrible story that erased, so many progressive things that this character did.
Well, I didn't hear women in that list of people involved with writing it. So
yeah, and it stands to reason.
Out of this, Chris Claremont saw that and quoting, this is exactly like 3 words that he said towards that story were callous, cruel, and unfeeling.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
And he took that character back and then, as Jared explained what happened after that, that's what he did.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think it's crazy that there was creators and other people that saw that and were like, that's not what this character is. Why would you do that?
Not only was it like just one person making a bad decision, it was a very famous writer and a group of people that decided it was a good idea.
Yeah. I mean, I don't, maybe they weren't thinking about what it looks like from the outside, but you don't need to be shocking and completely tear down a character to sell comics.
Well, the cynical person might say that they didn't like this explicitly feminist character, and so they wanted to underpower her.
You would think, but then George Perez, what he does for Wonder Woman.
So the more generous take is maybe that period of time, those guys still didn't really know how to write women, and that they were just unconsciously inclined to make her some sort of victim.
Yeah.
And it's unfortunate because it's very much not what Captain Marvel is today.
No.
Yeah.
They try to make her that way.
Yeah.
Chris Claremont was like, nope.
Yeah.
Took that shit back.
He cared about women, and he was like, and this other woman, I'm going to have a super powerful bird explode her face. Kill the universe. Okay. I guess before we move on, we should probably also talk a little bit about the name Captain Marvel.
Because it can get confusing for people.
There's just been a lot
There's
of
only
characters.
been one.
Yeah, apparently.
One
right?
Captain Marvel.
At DC. But in Marvel, there have been, so many, and Noah suggested something about the sort of legal reasons why they keep doing this. I also think maybe there's just an affinity for that name, given the, it's like our company or whatever.
But you would think that they would want to
have it
really
one.
Have one and be the face.
So I think they did, and I think something happened, and so the first Captain Marvel we've alluded to was a Kree soldier superhero named Mar-Vell. He's basically pretty strong, flying around. He had these negabands which gave him energy powers. They're just like wristbands, like he was some raver kid. And,
comic books and their naming of technology devices.
Yeah. Oh, fantastic.
Terrible.
It's like because it's like magic, but not magic.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You would say the negative version of magic.
Yeah. So he doesn't have the posi bands. These are the nega bands. And he's a great look. He's got stars in his costume, really wonderful sort of thing. We talked about how he's connected to her in his origins. I think one of the reasons he goes away is because the death of Captain Marvel is regarded as one of the greatest comic stories that maybe ushers us into the modern age a bit. And I think Marvel didn't want to touch that.
Yeah.
So they didn't want to bring him back. They didn't want to cheapen it. That was when they thought you could kill a character and you shouldn't cheapen it by bringing him back. Crazy talk.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah, I know. But they've wanted to fill that vacuum several times. So there's been a few characters before our beloved Carol Danvers got Captain Marvel that also took on that name. Captain Marvel, the original Mar-Vell's kids, or actually they weren't his kids. Of course, they were genetic clones. That's how it works.
That's how they make kids.
At different times, they've both. So Genisvel, the guy, the son, or whatever, and then Philavel, both been Captain Marvel at one point. They look similar to him. They're white people with white hair. That's how it works. I don't know. And they had very similar power sets to him and stuff like that. There's also a great character I think everybody here likes, Monica Rambeau.
Yes.
Right? She's had more names than anybody. She's been Photon and Spectrum, and Rainbow would be good because her name is Rambo. Like that's the whole point. But either way, I think she's Spectrum now, and she's one of the first and one of the best black woman characters. She led the Avengers, real fantastic. I've
always loved her costume.
Oh, she's fantastic.
Every costume she has had has been pretty good.
And that's rare.
Yeah.
Yes, and her power set, she can just turn into any form of energy, from electricity to what else? Like it's always some shit
Farts.
I've never. Yeah, exactly.
Oh
or photons or what. Anyway, and she was called Photon for a while too, of course. And yes, she's really cool, and we love her or whatever. And then we've had a couple. There was a Skrull for a while that took the place of Captain Marvel and impersonated, so technically that. And then there was Novar, a character who was another Kree badass character who had all this kind of cool, crazy Kree technology, and he was also half cockroach. He had cockroach. He was written by Grant Morrison. Do I need to say anything
No,
else?
he wasn't.
No, he absolutely was. He was invented by Grant Morrison.
Every time I try to defend that man,
I know.
He makes cockroach people.
It's fantastic. But he took on the mantle of Captain Marvel for a while too. But these are all not necessarily pretenders, but they were either
They had to be made for them to keep the name. I mean, that's
and some of them good. Janice Vell's Captain Marvel, written by Peter David, was in the late '90s. Was a really good series.
I hear people do recommend that one, and people do talk about that one.
Yeah.
I personally have never read him, but
it's
good.
But so that's basically the and there's been a few other Miss Marvels too. We all know Kamala Khan.
Yeah, she's cool.
Favorite.
Yeah.
And here's such a deep cut. There was Sharon Ventura, who was a character who was on the Fantastic Four for a while. She was a super strong lady, and she became She-Thing.
She was a super strong lady.
Yeah, she was a super strong lady, and then she became a female version of the Thing.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Does she look like
the
him?
big rocky guy, not the monster that Kurt Russell fought.
Did she look like him?
Yeah,
Like,
with boobies.
What?
It's like a big rock lady with boobies.
Oh my god.
Yeah. Yep. That's good stuff.
I mean, you don't need to tell me she has boobies.
No,
I'm
but that's
pretty
how
sure she did.
That's how they distinguished her. They were like, well, she's got to have a form, so they kind of made her like rocky but voluptuous. She should. She's great.
Yeah,
She's a great character.
That's weird.
Yeah.
I never heard about it. I think you're lying.
Yeah,
Liar.
you guys will know. So that's the people that have been the Marvels.
The Marvels.
All right, so since we're talking about the characters, supporting cast and stuff, I'm going to talk about the Flurkin cat.
Aww. I love cats.
There's no need for profanity.
No, that's what the cat is. Okay, anyway. So this cat's name is Chewie in the comics. But in the movie, its name is Goose. I like Chewie better because in the comics, she likes Star Wars, so she's a pilot, so named her co-pilot
Oh,
Chewie.
that's adorable.
Exactly. And then in the movie, they're like, oh, airplanes, Top Gun, Goose. Okay.
I think I like that she's a superhero, but also she's like a crazy cat lady shut in like me.
Like me.
Yeah, like Kayla.
Don't steal the mantle of crazy cat lady shut in from me, okay?
Fair enough. Fair enough.
How many cats do you have?
I only have 2 right now.
What are their names?
Timothy, for Tim Drake, and
Of course.
Anakin, Star Wars.
She's like, I only have 2 cats and the rest are people. I consider them people.
So anyway, this cat, what makes it, I guess, important or why it's on the posters and things is because it's not a normal domestic cat. In the comics, when Carol goes into space, her cat goes with her. And Rocket Raccoon, she meets up with the Guardians of the Galaxy, and Rocket is like, oh, that's a Flurkin. Of course, she's like, what the fuck are you talking about?
Yeah.
This cat ends up laying eggs.
What?
117
What?
eggs.
Yeah, a flirkin dozen, as they call it.
Yeah, that's exactly
Yeah.
right. That's not even a whole number, but an even number, but that's fine. Yeah, I mean, that's what the cat essentially is. That's it. I mean, it's an alien that looks just like cats, domesticated cats. And Rocket knew what it was. The cat laid 117 eggs, and they all the eggs hatched, and they were protecting it from this other alien race that was trying to get it. And Carol dropped the mommy cat and all the 117 babies off, and then nope, Chewie went back with her. So I guess just abandon all her kids.
That happens.
17 of them.
Oh my god.
Anything that has 17 kids usually doesn't take good care of them.
117.
Yeah, that too.
So
Dalmatians.
that is Chewie. I refuse to call it Goose.
Chewy Goose. Okay. So let's broaden our scope a bit because we've talked about some of these characters and
Other
stuff like
than
that.
an alien cat.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's particular for sure. But let's back up a bit because I feel like going into the movie, what you need to know is not just this character, but you need to know the broader sort of a cosmology that they're involved with. Let's talk about 2 races. two alien races that are going to be central to this movie and to the story generally. They're the Kree and the Skrull.
Yo.
Right? Kree and the Skrull. And just to get a little breakdown, they're both, at this point, imperialistic invading alien forces. Both, let's say, so the Kree are, just think of the Roman Empire, but everybody's blue and they have guns. Okay.
And they always like to experiment on people.
A lot of, experiments. But so do their mortal enemies, the Skrulls. And they're these green shapeshifty people. They can look like anything, but usually they have Thanos chins and Spock ears. That's kind of the deal. And they're green.
Not like an appealing green either, like a
kind of a pale
like
booger, a booger
hoodie,
green.
like your hoodie color.
Yeah,
green.
that for the listener. I have a hoodie that looks like a Skrull. Okay. And they also experiment on people and love to make what do you call it? Like super villainy kind of stuff.
You would think they'd be best friends.
Well, so it turns
I
out
think so.
Turns out they had an origin. They both used to be more or less good science observing characters, and they had a long time ago an encounter, and it turned both of them into evil pricks. So what happened was the Kree lived on this planet called Hala, and it was basically a nice idyllic Hala, and it was like technologically not that powerful. And the Kree shared Hala with a plant species named the Kotati.
Oh, Jesus
Nice.
Christ.
Yeah, it's very important. So the Kree and the Kotati, and they are visited one day by the scientifically advanced Skrull.
Oh, I thought you were going to say like Oompa Loompas.
And the
or
Skrull
something.
like to do this thing where they go down to planets and make people compete to see who can have the most lovely creations. So that's what they do. And they say, okay, we're going to pit the... Because anytime an imperialist power pits two indigenous forces, it always works out well. So they say, create the most beautiful thing and we'll judge it.
Like an experiment or like babies?
No, more like your art or something like that, like or something like that. And
I
it's,
thought you
it's
meant
the
like they had to
Kree-
make a mate and like
No,
who
no,
can
no.
make the best looking
No,
kid? I was
no,
like,
no.
What?
So it's the Kree and the Kotati, and what's funny about that is that like the Kree, their biggest contribution is they make an energy box that grants wishes, and the Kotati are plants. So I guess they was like, we made a statue out of acorns, or whatever. But the Skrull decide the Kotati make the most beautiful thing and judge them as the winner, and so the Kree, not really good losers, kill all the Kotati and the Skrulls that are there. They murder them, and they're pissed. We worked really hard on this box of wishes, and you're all going to die.
Why?
So they take the technology that the Skrull have.
Poor plants.
And because they live many, many light years away, the Skrulls back home don't know anything about what's happened.
Not yet.
So the Kree have time to like steal the Skrullian technology and become their own thing. And then few million years later, we have the two gigantic powers.
Did they ever find out about the Kree?
Yes.
Okay.
Once they do, they become mortal enemies. But then there's this huge stalemate, and it lasts for millions of years. Cue the Kree-Skrull War.
Mm.
And that happens. And what's I should say, too, all these aliens kind of correspond to Marvel franchises, which is kind of cool, because the Kree have been heavily involved with the Avengers. The Skrull heavily involved with the Fantastic Four.
Don't forget the Inhumans.
And absolutely, Kree had that effect too. And then the Shi'ar we won't really talk about, but they're kind of the X-Men. So it's just kind of cool that they all have their massive like alien forces or whatever that they're involved with.
A little extreme, but
Yeah. So the Kree-Skrull War, finally, Earth becomes like the kind of like Vietnam of these two, of their war. And it gets cashed out. And it's a great story because, I won't get into it too much, but it kind of showed for the first time for the Marvel Universe, which I really hope happens in the movie, that this was like Earth is just a small part in a larger cosmic sort of thing.
they definitely seem to be going more cosmic lately with what's been given the stakes. But I hope they continue to do that.
So you got the blue Roman Empire people versus the green shapeshifting
Thanos
frog.
chins.
Yes, yeah, exactly.
I wonder what color would they make if they made a thing together.
like a kind of teal. I think, technically. Well, you mentioned color. What's funny is that Marvel was Caucasian. You notice?
Yeah.
He was one of the white Kree, which were like
No.
and the white Kree are
God.
like how our country treated the black humans. So it was like a racial parable that even though he was because the Kree are racist. The blue Kree are the important ones, and he still worked his way up as a great warrior. And that's the idea. Yeah. You know how Marvel is always throwing in those like civil rights parables.
Yikes.
Yeah.
Down with the white Kree.
Yes, correct.
Yeah,
yeah.
That's interesting. Okay.
Yeah. So and like both these races have contributed a lot of cool characters. Like the Skrull, always messing with the Fantastic Four, created Super Skrull, was its cool character, has all the powers of the Fantastic Four. And then the lesser known Pipok, who has the powers of some of the X-Men. So he has the power of Colossus and Iceman and Storm and a few other things like that.
Wow.
And he's an evil Skrullian warlord and stuff like that. And then there's
Skrullian.
With that kind of name?
Yes. And then there's the Kree, which we've mentioned created the Inhumans.
Yes.
And also, have some great characters all their own, which I think Ms. Kayla was going to talk a little bit about.
Yep. I'm just going to highlight kind of two of the important ones that are going to appear in the movie, which we've already seen in the Guardians of the Galaxy movie. Mm-hmm. Comic book history, though. I apologize if Korath, Mr. the Pursuer, is your favorite, because
damn it.
there's not a lot here.
I thought you were going to say the other characters. I was like, yeah.
No,
and then you're like, Korath. I'm like, oh, okay. Yeah, no, it's fine.
There's not much.
I'm saving the important one for last.
Gotcha.
Even though chronologically, Ronan, spoiler, comes first, publication-wise. Korath is kind of a smaller fry. He's just I picture him like the lieutenant.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
He kind of functions that way in the movie and in comic book stories sometimes.
He's like Steppenwolf, kind of.
Or he's like the other one. Like anytime they need another Kree. Korath, come here. It's like, I think I'm dead. Aren't I dead? No, you're here now.
Well, he's died, but I'll get to
many
that.
times.
Yeah. He appeared in 1992, Quasar. Was created by Greg Capullo, the artist. He did Batman with Scott Snyder, and I love him, so I was excited to learn that.
That's interesting.
Yeah, I know. Mark Grunwald's the writer there. He's actually better known for the Pursuer Project because he's like a cyber engineer, geneticist. He's also like at the foreman of a munitions factory. He's also an agent. I mean, he has a lot of hats.
He's done it all.
Yeah.
This guy's resume.
He's strong and soldiery plus smart, which is dangerous.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But yeah, his actually kind of first introduction, he was involved in the Pursuer Project, which is like a modified cockroach from Earth.
These damn cockroaches.
Like Novar.
But that creation appeared in 1977, which is 15 years before Korath actually appeared.
Interesting.
Cool.
Yeah, so it was like they had the Pursuer Project, and then 15 years later, they're like, this is the guy that did it, guys.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Remember the 15 of you that read that story? Well, now it's come to fruition.
The important thing about Korath is basically kind of like the right-hand man of Ronan, and also he's part of Star Force. Works with the Supreme Intelligence.
It's like the Kree's Avengers.
Yeah.
We are the Supreme Intelligence.
Yeah. And I'll talk about like the significance of Star Force a little bit later with Ronan. Which is a good time to mention Ronan.
Wait. There's so much more on Court.
No, not really. I mean, there is, but I know.
He always has sticks. In the comics, he's got 2 sticks.
He's a cockroach.
They're power sticks. It's like, we've come from the faraway galaxy, and we can teleport, and we have laser guns, and I have sticks.
They're alien sticks.
Well, with Ronan, there's a lot. So I'm just like, I'm going to pick the cool things that I like about his
He's
comic
one
book
of
history.
my favorite characters ever. Go ahead, sir.
Oh my. Well,
Way
then
to
I have a lot
raise
to
the
live up to.
stakes.
He's
I know.
so great.
Now
he's
I'm kind of
really
scared.
cool. No, you'll do a fantastic job.
Well, his official title is the Supreme Accuser of the Kree Empire, but we kind of lovingly refer to him as just Ronan the Accuser. He first appeared in 1967. Stan Lee is one of the creators there, along with Jack Kirby. It was a Fantastic Four comic. Basically, the Fantastic Four destroyed like one of their cyber sentinels. And Ronan was like, hey, what happened to that sentinel? And then so he comes to Earth, and the Fantastic Four kind of kick his ass. And he's like, hey,
Stop punching me.
what the hell, dude?
Knowing like when that was written, that's probably exactly what. Like, they just punched him once. He's
Yeah.
like, hey.
Yeah.
Well, he interacted a little bit with Marvell because Marvell is Kree and so is Ronan. So they kind of had significant interactions.
Mhm.
I mean, he's an Annihilation, which you really, really, really love. That's when he kills the Supreme Intelligence, which at the time was like leading the Kree Empire. But Ronan was like, I don't want some inorganic thing to be leading us. So he kills the Supreme Intelligence.
Can I make a slight correction?
Sure.
Only so in that, because it's an Annihilation. What had happened was an evil group, a cast of the Kree called the Fiero, who were and they were not a warriors cast. They were like a marketing class, business assholes. They had taken over
Capitalist.
the Supreme Intelligence, and he killed it because he was putting it out of its misery. So he was like, I don't want.
So he old Yellered it.
He did. Yeah.
Even though old Yeller didn't do
Yeah,
anything.
yeah. It was like, well, what if like you imagine like what if our presidency was taken over by like a big yellow-haired orange monster? And he was like, I can't have that. So
Did old Yeller it.
be hard to anyway, yeah. So yeah, it's a very sad moment.
Well,
Sorry.
yeah. Well, it kind of parallels with the sad moment that Ronan has later. So he kind of becomes the de facto leader. He interacts a lot with the Inhumans, so he marries Crystal. And
She marries a lot of people.
yeah. Well, and at first they were kind of like, ugh.
Yeah.
But they actually grew very fond of each other.
Yeah.
They became a strong team, and then Black Bolt was like, nah.
Yeah.
And took Crystal back. And they were both kind of sad.
I think that's what makes Ronan a little interesting, because it's like, he's good.
Yeah.
He's kind of bad.
Yeah,
He's kind of like makes bad decisions, makes good decisions.
There's a lot of these characters. He's like Gladiator from the Shi'ar, where it's like he's definitely he thinks duty is very important.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of potential in Ronan's character.
Oh, yeah.
And I know people were disappointed with how he was portrayed in Guardians of the Galaxy.
I like the way he looked.
I really love Lee Pace. So I'm like,
Yeah.
he's a good actor. He can do it. So,
Let's hopefully they explore it a little more in this one.
Agreed.
Yeah.
It's in the 90s.
Yeah.
So this might be like his good time.
Yeah.
I think they made him like a weird religious zealot in that movie, which was a bit weird. But like if you translate that to like a zealot for like the success of the Kree, it
Makes
still
sense.
works. I think.
Yeah.
So-
He has that drive in him. It's just, it was misdirected.
Yes.
One of like the last significant moments was things happened because comics, and he becomes kind of like a cyborg, and then
Oh yeah.
It's
parallel.
always a damn cyborg.
I know. Parallel to when he had to put down, I guess, the Supreme Intelligence, he begs Black Bolt to kill him and put him out of his misery.
I remember
Very
that.
sad.
Yeah.
Can I nerd out about his powers real quick?
Sure.
Okay, so basically this is how he works.
Jesus.
He's a big genetically engineered Kree, and then they wrap him up in a green mummy like suit, so he's like as strong as a thing, and he's awesome, and that would be enough. That'd be cool. But he has the universal weapon, which is a big hammer thing. Of
course.
a staff
The
with a
iconic.
hammer. Yeah. Why I can't
It's a staff with a
with a
hammer.
hammer. So it's like a Aquaman trident with
And
a
it's called
with a
the
hammer on
universal
top.
weapon?
It's called the universal weapon because it's kind of like a
Because it's a staff.
it's a
and
plot
hammer.
device on a stick is what it is.
I think Jared's just obsessed with hammers.
I don't dislike them. I'll tell you that. But it can like create force fields and shoot energy,
Jesus.
and it can at a low level manipulate matter. So
Okay,
he
hold on,
kind of
hold
is a
on, hold on.
badass. Yeah.
What does that mean?
Manipulate
Because there's at a low level, because I see a lot of like
Yeah.
these characters like bios and stuff. It's
Yeah.
like manipulate matter, but at a low level,
So
it's
it's
like
like
what
he
you
can't-
can make a feather float. Like what
No,
do you-
it can make lighter things slightly less light. No. So instead of like changing, you know how like Proteus or like Franklin Richards could like change the whole universe, and he can kind of like at a localized level like turn a car into like what do you get like a
Transformer.
yeah essentially like or turn it like melt it or something like that, or like change the physical like
So it's just the scope
dimensions
is
and
narrowed.
ability. Yeah, exactly.
That's-
Yeah.
Exciting.
So he's not like a what do you call it? He can't just do anything he wills himself to do, but it is a good plot device for
Yeah.
why he can fight the Fantastic Four.
Well,
I guess that does make
yeah.
sense.
And like kind of circling back to why we're spotlighting two of the Kree, because I mean, like, they're significant villains for Captain Marvel.
Oh yeah,
But I think in the movie, they're going to do this focus on Star Force, which is like the kind of, I don't know, Navy SEALs, but smarter
Hell yeah,
of the
yeah,
Kree
yeah,
Empire.
yeah.
And both Korath and Ronan are probably going to be a part of that. And with Miss Marvel's like complex background with the Kree, especially, I mean, in the movie, it's going to be one of her parents.
And it looks like she's like part of them.
Are they doing that?
That's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking that
because there was that scene where she had, where she had the IV and like there was different blood going in. So are they making her part Kree or is she already part Kree?
I think it's like the bionic woman. Like, we can rebuild it. We have the technology. We've got sticks.
But I think, probably during the movie, she's going to be like, Star Force, good. And then by the end, Star Force, bad.
Yeah. Because they're going to be like, we've got to destroy the Earth. I mean, it's always that. Right?
Yeah.
And they're like, I'm starting to think these guys aren't on the level.
I know Star Force is going to be like, genocide? She's going to be like, no.
Yeah.
Everybody's like, yeah. And she's like,
Maybe
wait.
not.
Yeah. But
That honestly, that would be great if it turns out that you first like the Kree are the good guys and then the Skrull are the bad guys.
Yeah.
Then she's like, oh, the Kree's kind of bad, and also Skrull's not so bad.
Maybe there's a third option.
Yeah, because that's kind of like the comic.
until the invasion happens.
Well, yeah, and like
they're bad
researching
too.
the characters, it's like 9 times out of 10 the Kree and these characters specifically are portrayed in an antagonistic way.
Yeah.
But like there's that 1 out of 10 time that they're on the good side or they're sympathetic.
Yeah.
Say they keep him at stick's length.
Yeah.
Basically, you can help us from over there.
Yeah.
So, Jared, what do you hope the movie is like, or does not do?
Have you seen Braveheart? Okay, no, I'm just playing. No,
gosh.
I want it to be like that. No. I think so. Here, I want it to open up Marvel's cosmic toy chest all the more.
Mm-hmm.
I want. So the world is about to get real big because we've had Asgard, huge kind of world. We've had.
Yikes.
No, it's still. Oh, god damn it! That's a good point. But I meant the larger 9 worlds. But you're right. And we've seen Sakaar, and then we've also got the whole magical sort of world, and we've kind of pointed towards some cosmic stuff. And there's definitely the case that there's going to be Kree and Skrull here. But I want more. I want a Guardians of the Galaxy kind of thing. I want some references to Silver Surfer. I want some references to Quasar.
Can they do that?
I don't know. But the point is that I want. Can I have this? No. But
Legally.
But the point is there's all these cosmic entities out there, and they have a really good chance to at least like point the way towards that, and so that's what I want.
Cool. Kayla.
Yeah, I know it seems kind of like a cop-out answer, but I really just want it to be a well-written, well-shot movie.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
Like First.
Yeah.
Like Wonder Woman, or like people bashed like the Marvel Netflix series, but I feel like it was well-written and well-filmed.
Mm-hmm.
I do too.
So I think the significance of it being Marvel's first like female hero movie is a big deal, but I want it to really just be good by itself without that.
Yeah.
Because I just don't want to give them any reason to not do female characters in the future and shrug and be like, oh, it's...
That's actually a good point. And they're in the perfect position because it's in the 90s, so it happens before any of the other Marvel stuff.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that just, like, they don't have to worry about anything else. I mean, except for leading into Infinity War, but that's it.
Oh, I got another one. Can I get one?
Of course.
Can I get another one?
Of course you have more.
No,
to
but
say.
because this made me think of it, I want a damn good reason why we don't have Captain Marvel right now.
Oh, I'm sure.
Because I can't.
Oh, yeah. Why? What is she doing?
Yeah, because it's better not be a flimsy, like, I just went into retirement.
Well, she could just be in space the whole time.
She better be.
I mean, that's because the Skrulls didn't know that the Kree killed all those people for how many years?
Yeah,
so
that's just
The news didn't reach her until
until
she
people
swoops in
started
to save the day.
evaporating in front of her, and she's like, "Oh shit!"
I also want Chewie / Goose to be iconic. I want the cat to be iconic after the movie.
I hope that that cat lays its 117 eggs
into the villain's mouth.
Ew.
That's how they die.
Ew.
It's like cat eggs.
Ew.
Write it down.
No, so
What do you want?
I mean, I'm the same boat with Kayla. Like, I just hope it's good and it can stand on its own.
Well, now it makes it sound like I want it to be bad. What are you guys doing?
Yeah, that's pretty much what we're doing. No, I mean, I think I do want it to be a good, well-written thing, and I want it to stand on its own. I'm hesitant from what I've seen. Like, it seems like it can go either way. Like, seeing this, I'm not immediately super excited about it like I was with Wonder Woman or anything else, really. But, like, it seems interesting. Like, I think the whole intrigue of, like, how does this play into Infinity War and where has she been is more interesting to me than kind of what I've seen so far. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
Yeah. And also, they're in a good position because not many people know the character. So they have, I guess that might be more pressure then, though. Because they're like, we want to make this character really good. So,
But you're kind of right, which is that there's not a bunch of people that are like, that's not how it's supposed to be.
yeah.
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 Yeah, because then you could just pull up Monica's version and be like, well,
Yeah.
and this
Yeah.
Captain Marvel, she
Yeah.
did this. So,
Yeah,
Very
that's.
true.
I don't care if they change things really,
mhm.
because I don't want the audience to have any excuse to be like,
Yeah, I mean, this character has so much stuff change anyway that they are able to do whatever they want because this character's also had multiple origins. So it's like either stick with her being half Kree or stick with her getting the powers from that device. Like,
I don't agree with you guys. I feel like if they don't talk about the psychic Megatron, then I'm done.
the white hole.
Yeah.
All right, comic book recommendation time. I'll start off. I'm going to recommend Captain Marvel 2012 by Kelly Sue DeConnick. It's the one that they're basing the movie off of now. I think it's a good kind of jump on place for people to get to know the character a little bit more.
You restarted it all.
Yes. Really cool comic.
Kind of concentrated it for the future.
And it really really sets her personality and you get to know her pretty well in that one. So, Kayla?
Yeah. I thought about it. I think I'm going to recommend Civil War 2 that came out in 2016. Written by Brian Michael Bendis, illustrated by David Marquez. I just think it really gets into her philosophy. That's why I like the Civil War runs in Marvel. It kind of, you really get to take a closer look about what and why the characters like do the things that they do. So yeah, I think it's an interesting take on what she feels.
Isn't the slogan for that one like she wants to change the future and Iron Man wants to protect the future?
That's not a slogan, but that is true.
It's more like there's this character that has the ability to like profile people. He has visions, and so she wants to like make a list of people that will commit crimes in the future.
Minority Report, essentially.
Yeah.
Or just prevent like things, just go and prevent.
Yeah, like,
stuff
it's kind of like a
before it starts.
preemptive thing. It's like, why are we going to let crime happen and then react to it? As
Who do you
opposed to-
agree with?
Tony,
Yeah.
you don't fuck with the time stream.
But see,
I'm kind of on
don't
Carol's side.
Fuck with the time stream.
I think that was his big concern. And her response is just like, well, I want to keep us safe. So again, I like that even when it was Cap and Iron Man fighting, it's like they both have
They're
good
both
reasons.
right,
Yeah.
essentially, but it's just
A compromise.
who's more right.
Whoever says you don't fuck with the time stream.
Well, what's your rec?
Speaking of time stream, you guys, man, 2012 and 2016, you're so new, so young. I'm going to go back to the ancient days of 2007. And, it's a really good one. It's Mighty Avengers 2007. It's Brian Michael Bendis and Frank Cho. And this isn't, one, it's not Captain Marvel yet. And it's not,
was like,
it's
what?
not even, and it's not even Miss
Carol's not
Marvel's-
even in this one, guys.
Yeah, but she should have been. No.
Misunderstand the assignment?
Yeah, I didn't get it. No. But she's leading a team of Avengers, and it's like almost like a rebuilding year because before she was, I mentioned this before she was going to be the Captain Marvel we know and love now, she kind of had to spend some time just being a very solid Miss Marvel. So this is a good example of that. Very solid Miss Marvel. So check it out.
Yeah, and then we're going to be doing the movie review.
Yep.
Yeah,
when it
get
comes
ready.
out. So listen to this, get to know the character, and then hopefully they don't wipe it all away so that we did this episode for nothing. All right, thanks, guys.
Thanks for listening. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter at the Fantom Zone Pod for more podcast updates.
Okay
I
with
feel
it.
like it's hard for us to compare because our favorites don't have movies.
Yeah,
One day.
exactly. That's
No.
why I'm like, anybody can be the Flash at the moment.
Yeah.
Like, just get him on the screen.